electoral system, a mixture of first-past-the-post and proportional representation, has created a minefield of instability and confusion for whoever wants to form a working majority in Parliament next week. Matt Fry, BBC News, Rome.
An international ban on the export of toxic waste has been agreed at a meeting in Geneva. 64 countries, including Britain, have signed the convention which immediately bans all exports of hazardous waste for disposal in developing nations. Exporting waste for recycling will be phased out by the end of 1997. The environmental group Greenpeace hailed the agreement as a major victory for developing countries. The Crown Office in Edinburgh has said there will be no criminal proceedings against the owners of the Brer oil tanker which ran aground off Shetland last year. The spillage of crude oil was the worst in British waters since the Torrey Canyon disaster of 1967. The Shetland Islands Council said today it believed there was a case under the Control of Pollution Act, but it would not be starting civil proceedings. The government is understood to be considering making team sports at school compulsory for 14 to 16-year-olds. The proposal reflects growing concern about the decline in the amount of time and resources given to sport in schools. It was the subject of a major conference in Birmingham today.
Play up and play the game used to be the motto in our schools. It still is in some, but the game's changed and there's not much time to play it. The national curriculum ring-fences only an hour a week for sport. Today's children know about more sports than those a generation ago, but overall obesity's up, team games down. Many playing fields are under threat and teachers are less willing to supervise out of hours. At today's national conference, sports stars suggested solutions, pinpointed problems.
There's more things available, but there's less time to do them. I think that's one way of summing it up. I mean, when I was at school, there were quite a few things available, and we had plenty of time to do it, like half days and extracurricular time. But now there's very little time in the curriculum to do sport.
Many blame the shrinking school base for the repeated failures of national teams in major sports. In parts of the country, there are initiatives to boost sport out of school hours by involving parents and local leisure centres. But some say the focus shouldn't be on competitive sports, but on inculcating the habit of exercise.
Opportunities for sport are there, and young people are being encouraged to participate more and get to just feel the joy and pleasure of getting sweaty and having some fun.
That's very different from the ethos at more traditional schools. Many opted out or in the private sector. Often 10% of time is devoted to sport, with much emphasis on competition within and between schools. Some in government and many in sport would like to see more of that ethos throughout education.
Just bidding for 1 hour in the curriculum for PE is not enough. I mean, somebody somewhere must be happy with that, because I don't hear too much fuss. I mean, people are upset, but they're not making a fuss, and I think that somebody should say, well, look, 1 hour, what's that for games? What's that for PE?
There'll be no more time for sport, but there could soon be more competitive games. Under the current curriculum review, ministers are considering making at least one game compulsory for 14 to 16-year-olds. A report with recommendations on the subject goes to the Education Secretary next week. Wesley Kerr, BBC News.
Cricket, England's bowlers have struck back on the first day of the third test in Trinidad. After the West Indies had made a solid start, they suffered a middle-order collapse as England took 4 wickets for just 6 runs.
The captain's call of tails was singularly appropriate since England's were firmly between their legs, the more so when it proved wrong, and then Atherton himself granted Haynes an early escape. It looked like being hugely costly as the openers constructed a solid platform against an attack which, although more accurate, still rarely looked like taking wickets, until Salisbury's top spinner accounted for Haynes.
He's bowled him leg stump.
But Richardson and Lara, though riskily at times, continued to accumulate steadily. Just when it seemed England would never have any luck, a huge dollop arrived as Richardson greeted the day's worst ball with its worst shot. LBW for 63, and it began a collapse of English proportions, as first Lara was adjudged LBW to Lewis, then Adams was smartly picked up by Smith. And when the resurgent Lewis trapped Arthurton soon after, West Indies had lost 4 wickets for 6 runs. Chanderpaul and Benjamin have since followed to Fraser, and West Indies now 217 for 7, England's best day of the series. Kevin Geary, BBC News.
And tonight's main news again, a British Army team has been found alive and well after being missing for almost a month in the Malaysian jungle. That's it from the 9 o'clock news. Good night and have a peaceful weekend.
We had our much wanted daughter, and before Simon even came up to see her on the second day, we stood and watched him at the maternity window washing his car.
No, I was just cleaning the flies off.
From A to B shortly on BBC 2.
Good evening. Birmingham City Council is threatening legal action against Severn Trent over a pioneering system of water supply. The method of paying in advance using a key and a meter means that when people run out of money, they often run out of water.
Nearly 1,000 homes in the region now pay for their water with this sort of key. It's the electronic equivalent of a coin meter. But Birmingham Council plans legal action to get them removed, since it opposes any schemes which mean the water can be cut off.
I feel that they're illegal because we wrote to Severn Trent saying that we would, back in July 92, that we would not allow water meters to be installed in any of the City Council's properties. They wrote back to say that they would respect our embargo on these meters and would not install any.
Our advice is that it is not illegal, and as I say, we're working very closely with everyone to make sure that everyone is quite aware of what it is that we're doing.
When its pilot scheme runs out in the summer, Severn Trent expects thousands of customers to have the key meters fitted.
A Territorial Army officer from Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire is spending one more night on Mount Kinabalu in Malaysia. Major Ron Foster and his group were found today after they'd been missing for over a month. He's now waiting with medical supplies and food to be airlifted to safety. A school in Leicestershire has had to board up its windows for the Easter holidays because it has the worst record for vandalism in the county. Smashed windows cost Braunston Hall Junior School £20,000 in glass alone. The school tried fitting laminated glass, but the vandals melted it with a blowtorch. This 16th century building has been a school since 1932, but the children may eventually have to move elsewhere because of the vandalism. And that's the news. Now the weather with Michael Fish.
Good evening. A taste of spring for many of us this weekend, but gardeners beware, there will be some frost around. Now, we've had some cloud across the country today, but all the while it's been moving away southwards. We've seen a change in the weather with clearer weather following from the north. And we've seen the wind direction swing into the northwest as well, but more important, we've seen high pressure on the horizon. And that's actually going to be moving in towards us during the next day or so. Already coming in towards Ireland there. Tomorrow's slap bang across us. Unfortunately, though, it continues on its journey out into the continent later on in the weekend. Still have a scattering of showers and cloud across the country at the moment, some thicker cloud moving away from the south. The showers are going to continue to die away, the cloud is going to continue to break up, so we're going to have clear skies virtually everywhere. That's only half the story though. We have a fairly stiff northwesterly breeze with us at the moment, but that too is going to die away. So with the clear skies, the lighter winds, at the end of the night it will be jolly cold. There'll certainly be a widespread ground frost, and in a number of places you'll actually get a touch of air frost as well. Tomorrow should be dry and sunny virtually everywhere, at least for a good deal of the time. A little bit of cloud floating over from time to time in the more central and southern areas, just these little fluffy clouds that we call fair weather cumulus. We're also going to find a veil of cloud later on in the day spilling into these more western areas, but it is going to be dry everywhere. Even the light showers in the north of Scotland should die away during the first part of the day. A chilly start, as we saw, but with that spring sunshine and the lighter winds, it should turn out to be quite a pleasantly warm afternoon. Temperatures around about the 10 to 12 degrees mark. Moving into Sunday, again a chilly start, some frost in central and eastern areas, and for those eastern parts it should, I think, be another dry and fairly bright day, but not as sunny as today. In the more western and northern areas, starting off fairly bright and dry, but thickening cloud will bring outbreaks of rain during the second part of the day, and you'll find the wind picking up as well. If you're lucky enough to be going off onto the continent this weekend, for many places, especially into the Mediterranean and Central Europe, it should be fine and dry. Still rather wintry, though, in parts of Russia, and as we saw, some rain coming into the west of the British Isles later on. That's all from me. Have a nice weekend.
It's Saturday evening on BBC One.
Mark, this isn't funny!
The temperature's rising in Superman.
Sorry.
In the the final house party, Stephanie Beecham drops in, John Barnes grabs a grand, and Lionel Blair finally gets his gotcha. At 7:15, Jim's got all the answers in another big break. Moral dilemmas, what would you do? Do the right thing at 7:45. It's those birds again at 8:25.
Tomato woman.
We've had the Oscars, now it's the Academy Awards. That's life at 8:55. And with all the action from 3 top games in Match of the Day at 9:55, that's Saturday evening on BBC One. Don't miss it.
The new Radio Times contains a complete weekly listings guide and includes previews and features on forthcoming BBC television and radio programmes. BBC One tonight at 11:15 takes in the World Figure Skating Championships from Tokyo with the women's technical and free dance programmes. Sharpening up their act now on BBC One, Liza Minnelli, Julie Walters and Shelley Winters in the film premiere of Stepping Out.
So,